What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Collider Media Studio at the Cinema Center at South by Southwest 2025. I feel like everybody out there knows this. I'm so excited to talk drop. I'll follow you to like any project you take, and yet again, you deliver big. Congratulations on the movie.
Thank you so much.
So, jilling questions here. First big one for you, Chris. So, this opportunity comes your way. What is something about the material that makes you say to yourself, I have something to gain from this as a director who's always evolving my craft?
I loved the idea and the potential of making a movie that felt very like a modern Hitchcock movie, but also like a classic 90s thriller. And I feel like there's not enough of them anymore, you know? So for me, it was just a really cool opportunity. I really loved the script. I loved her character's journey. And I was jonesing for something that was a little bit darker. My husband jokingly calls this my grown-up movie.
I get it.
It's funny.
And it's true, he does. And I love the idea of making a fairly straightforward thriller, but with some interesting little like flourishes.
I love when I can hear someone describe their intentions with the movie and I could be like, yeah, like I felt that. That was a vibe I got. I'm gonna make this real awkward for the two of you and ask you about casting them, because phenomenal actors who need to play these characters very, very well. But when you cast these roles, you also need actors who, I guess, understand like the technical requirements for filming a movie like this and the ability to kind of up suspense when something isn't there in the traditional sense. So what did you see in the two of them that suggested to you they could tick both boxes?
I just saw two really important factors. I saw an incredible range and honesty in their work. You know, there's such presence in what they do. And also I just was like, this is really creepy sounding, but like, I remember like I made like a mood board thing where like I had your photos next to each other, but
That's
I was
not
like,
creepy. That's really cute.
but it was like, I would look at them and I was like, that's the date that I want to go watch, you know, like I want to see those two people fall in love. And so, you know, that's what we went for.
Yeah, no, truly. Nailed it. So for the two of you now, I'm going to give you a big old two-part question about signing on and doing the movie. When this opportunity comes your way, what single part about making this movie were you most excited to get to do? And then ultimately, can you tell me something about filming it that was more creatively fulfilling than you ever could have imagined at the start?
Well, to answer the first part of the question, I sort of everything, to be annoying and just say that, because it was my first time doing anything in that genre. But more specifically, I think like the stunts and stuff, I was really excited about that because I also had never done that. So that's part A. Part B, what was part B?
Something that was more creatively fulfilling than you ever could have imagined.
I guess the whole experience. Again, I don't mean to be, you know, generalizing it here, but I really had no idea what to expect before I started the film. And at the end of it, I felt exhausted, but really, really creatively fulfilled. So I think that's kind of like the best version of both of those things.
Horror and thriller filmmaking is the most exhausting thing, but for the best possible reasons. And especially
Totally.
when the payoff is as good as this, I'm glad you did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a fan of Chris's work and Meghann's work, and I love horror movies and thrillers. And I first read the script and I breezed through it, and I didn't see the twist coming. And this is like a classic, fun movie that I would want to go see. And it's aware of itself, and also creatively was interesting. Just sort of being confined to these seats for the entire, like I spend the entire movie in his chair. Having a conversation about like calamari and wine, and trying to like find something in that's where you can have as much humanity and make it as real and as grounded as possible, and sort of come in and have this guy have a life outside of this place and a perspective, and sort of root that in like values and an ethos that can somehow come through like very casual first date conversation, and finding moments to sort of maybe mislead the audience or be aware of yourself doing that. With a look or a way you say something. So like sort of it was a tightrope creatively, I think, in terms of just the acting with her and I. It's like doing a play, but in like very small chunks every day. Yeah.
Ooh, I have follow-ups to that, because you kind of brought up that tightrope of your character where Like you need to play his truth, but you also need the entire journey for us to be on our toes while watching it, because we can't trust anyone who is around Violet. So I guess what was it like, without spoiling anything, maybe like playing with that divide and not tipping the scale too far one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of just like in the moment, picking those moments when, you know, you're like, this is a good opportunity to maybe throw a look or say something a certain way. Hold a look a little bit longer than you should, maybe, you know what I mean? These really subtle little things that can, whereas the audience like, that seems a bit odd, that he would be, you know what I mean? And just sort of finding those in the moment, and rolling with it, being present. Yeah.
Kept me on my toes.
Yeah.
I liked it. Had another follow-up. Oh, because you just brought up that you love horror movies. I feel like when I hear that, I can't help but ask,
Yeah.
what's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, that's tough to say. Of all time, it's impossible to say. I mean, Strange Darling wasn't really scary.
No, that can count.
But that was I love that movie so much. I've been talking about it nonstop. That movie's brilliant. And I love Long Legs. I did.
Good choice, too.
I love Long
Look
Legs.
at you say you've never done this genre. I'm thinking about your monster. That's in a million genres.
It's in a million genres, and I didn't really do anything too
That's fair.
spooky in it.
But still.
But yes, true.
Top tier genre movie right there.
Yeah. Oh my God, love that movie.
So I want to talk a little bit about
it.
some
You
of
love
the
it.
production design, because I was reading in our press notes that you created I guess like a fully functioning restaurant. What are some, I guess, like little touches that people might not realize function to the extent of a real operational restaurant, and why you wanted to go those lengths to actually give them a full setting to work in?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted this restaurant to be as immersive as possible. We wanted that for the actors, and obviously, it's it's a character in the movie, and so there's a lot of specificity. I mean, every tiny detail was present in that restaurant, and we had, a trained wait staff. We had real food. We had fake food that looked like our real food. We created our own menu. We had a chef who actually created the menu for the restaurant. And we also, I think one of the most complicated aspects of the film, and this is definitely sort of a huge sort of kudos to the AD department, because we also had to figure out a timeline for like every single thing that happened around them. So like, who was just sitting down, who was about to get up, like what course were they on? And so all of those things had to be mapped out and figured out so that everything was, at least from a continuity standpoint, seamless. And so there was an enormous amount of work that went into sort of bringing this whole space in this restaurant to life.
The layers of that is something else, because like you encourage my eye to like obviously look at what's happening front and center, but I'm watching every single layer of that frame and where people are going and what they're looking at. Yeah. Keep me on my toes again. I like it. I want to ask both of you now about that production design too. So again, fully operational restaurant. Is there any particular little detail that you really appreciated? Maybe it's not front and center for the viewer, but it made this world feel real and full to you.
Yes.
I know what you already want.
I mean, go ahead.
You're ready to
Brandon.
say something.
Do it.
The steak?
Yeah.
No. I ate a lot of steaks on this movie. That's not what I was going to say, but damn, that guy could cook a mean steak. I did actually eat all the food in these scenes, and
He would eat when we weren't rolling.
I just keep eating those steaks.
I don't blame you. It looked like a good steak.
Yeah, they were great. I miss them dearly. I know the archway entrance hallway of that restaurant, when you come out of the elevators and then walk through, that was a gorgeous. I was blown away by how they. I mean, it's just like it's wood and they cut all that, and I used to build stuff like that, and it's very difficult, and I was blown away by the craftsmanship
stunning.
of that restaurant. Yeah, it was unreal. And the ceiling they had, remember the ceiling?
Yeah.
It was paper that they had sort of rolled, like sort of waved.
Like sheet by sheet.
Sheet by sheet, and each sheet was clipped to the ceiling with two little clips, like close.
And so it was all hanging at different but
hundreds
heights.
of
Yeah, it was
hundreds.
incredible.
Beautiful
Yeah.
effect of it. Allowed
Really
us to
intricate.
diffuse light
Yeah.
through it. So like it
Yeah.
added an actual sort of texture. To
So
the
tedious
restaurant.
and thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The detail pays off big time.
absolutely. Yeah.
You want to add something else?
Yeah, well, just the lighting. I mean, I feel like the lighting was so spectacular, and it felt very, you called it like practical lighting, right? Like, so we didn't really we felt like we were just in the restaurant the whole time, apart from obviously there were cameras, but like lights like this and stuff, we didn't really have around us. So it just made the whole thing even more immersive.
Yeah, our DP, Mark Spicer, like he created this environment that allowed, which was, as a director, it was a dream come true, because there was so much mobility and flexibility in the way that we shot it. Like I wasn't chained to one specific area and then we had to move a bunch of lights around. Like it was so malleable and flexible at all times, and we had absolute control over everything, which is also why it lent itself for us to do really cool and specific lighting cues that were about telling the story through her point of view.
That's so cool. So we've hit production design. You mentioned your cinematographer. I want to make sure to mention your costume designer too, Gwen, I believe.
Yeah.
One thing that caught my eye that I was reading in our production notes was that Gwen and her team created backstories for all of the background actors in the restaurant. And I love details like that. So I was wondering if you remembered any and if you could share one.
I mean, funny enough, they didn't share all of those with us, but you could feel it at every single table. And so you really felt like there was like, you know, the three women who were in the back who were old friends and having like that monthly catch-up dinner. There was like this awesome, you know, queer couple that was sitting near them not too far, and he had like a choker, which was, I think, something I asked for.
Yeah. They were cool.
But also, like, apart from having, you know, apart from them designing all those people, what was so cool about this movie too is that all those background actors brought so much to the restaurant every single day. They came every single day and they were very much in character. And I'm sure some of them, it's one of the funny things was like, you know, they had to spend so much time together, and these are complete strangers who get sat at a table, and then you're like, hey, you're going to spend 24 days together or whatever it was, like at a table alone. So it was interesting to see how some of them made these like amazing friendships where like when we wrapped, we had one table come up to us and all the women were crying, and they said it was the best time they'd ever had. It was almost like summer camp for them. And then there were some people who hated each other.
Yeah, it was like a whole little world happening.
There was like this whole thing going on in the back.
I feel that we don't
Somebody
shout
quit.
out. Oh God.
Oh, somebody got fired.
Oh boy. We don't, but maybe not that person, but we don't shout out background performers nearly enough, especially for a movie like this where everybody
So
being
true.
fully into it.
I was
So
a
the
background
honest
performer for
performance.
years. For years back in the day.
It's not easy work, and it's often thankless.
And it's the lowest rung on the totem pole.
These were joyful people on our last day with all of our background, because eventually we moved into some pretty heavy stunt stuff and everybody kind of was done with that part of it. But on the last day I was on set and I heard music playing, and then I looked over and it looked like some people were dancing, and I was like, oh, everyone's just trying to get like pumped up, you know, to like get excited. And then I looked and realized that the entire background cast had learned a dance routine, and they were literally doing like a flash mob
yeah.
on set. And it was so fun. It was so cool. I had like tears in my eyes because like they cared so much.
Yeah, they were great.
What a nice thing to have. I love that. I have to let you all go soon. It would be sadder, but we're going to do a ladies' night conversation. We can dig into all the details. But before I let you go, Brandon, I have one question about an upcoming project for you.
Yeah.
And, like, you have some cool stuff, but the one that I zeroed in on because Paul Feig is here at the festival is The Housemaid. And I haven't read the book, but I started to read about it. And like people are just so into that material. The particular thing I wanted to ask you, though, was you're working with Sydney and Amanda on that, and like they're leads, but they're also producers on it. So I was just wondering what it was like working with them and just seeing them like not only crush roles, but also like be leaders in that kind of environment.
Oh yeah, I mean we wrapped on that like 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It was a wild experience. But yeah, I mean Sydney's a powerhouse. I mean that girl is so incredibly smart and knows exactly what she's doing, and is a great producer, and she's on it. And Amanda as well. I mean, Amanda's been at this for a long time, and she's a veteran, and she's just such a magnificent actor. And I'm just excited for people to see it, because she gets to go to places that I haven't seen her do much, you know, and she absolutely crushed it.
I'll squeeze in one more question just to wrap my brain around what the movie's going to be a little more, because again, I haven't read the source material, but I was reading a little bit about it. And like when I think about Paul Feig, I think about a movie having some sort of comedic touch, which doesn't seem like what that source material is. So can you kind of categorize it for us?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a huge departure for Paul. It's it's dark and it's sexy and it's suspenseful, psychological. There is we did kind of bring some humor to it at times, just add some levity. But yeah, I haven't seen it. Obviously, we just wrapped it, but I feel like the tone is going to be pretty specific and unique.
I'm pumped.
Yeah,
Can't
it's going to be great.
That.
It's going to be
Can't
great.
wait for the world to see this. Congratulations on your big South by Southwest premiere. So much more good coming your way, and I'm so happy for you all.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.